Hello guys, and welcome to my Gypsy Soul. Today I wanted to take a moment and talk about my life and some of the suffering that I had been through and explain a little bit about my overcoming that and how I'd done so, and how I can reflect back to where God had protected me throughout life with His angels and all. And I wanted to do this as a little bit of context and meat for the background of this channel, so I hope you guys enjoy. My brother was molesting me. He had done it for many years. Many sleepless nights, he would not leave me alone. I laid wedged between the bed and the wall, trying desperately to keep his hands off of me. This went on every night, and it just would not end. He wouldn't leave me alone. In every room I went to, he followed. I hated it. I hated him. I reached out many times, cried out for help, called the law over and over, cried out to my family, but no one would help me. The ones that did believe that something was happening was too afraid of my brother to stand up to him. No one knew him like I did. He had beat on me for so long, I knew every move he would make. I was no longer afraid of him. I was tired of him. When I was 12 years old, I was kidnapped by 3 men. They drove me across the state line to Virginia, and they tried to rape me on the side of the road. When they couldn't, they swung me by my hands and my feet and threw me off the side of the cliff. They thought I was dead. They thought they would never see me again. But they did. They saw me, thanks to a dog. After I got on my feet and started making my way, I found a few houses. Within about 3 hours of beating and banging and begging for help, someone did let me in, and I used their phone to call the law, who said they couldn't help me because they didn't know if I was a runaway. I called my mom, and she said for me to get back the best way I could. He asked me to sit out on the porch with the dog until the morning time come and to be gone before his family had woke up. Dog. I was not going to be treated like one. I was a child that had been kidnapped, and I was hurt. And I listened to that car soar around that cliff up that mountain, and I made my way right back up that mountaintop. And I stood in the middle of the road with my arms wide open as I could hear them coming around the curve, and I dared them to kill me. I returned safely, but then was kicked out of my home and put on the streets shortly afterwards. I was kicked out because I had laid out of school for a week. I had dyed my hair black, and I was ashamed because it was too black, and so I was trying to stay home and wash it out. My mom didn't want to hear any of that, and she told me that I couldn't live there anymore, and I couldn't live with my father because my brother lived there. I had found safety in my being homeless. The whole time I was on the streets, I was never attacked, never molested, never raped. Everybody had my back. It was like a family. I was safe, and I was at peace. I only came home when I absolutely had nowhere to lay my head, and then the battle would be on, fighting my brother off of me. I was at peace, but I could not find myself. I was searching all over. I didn't know who I was, what I wanted. Or most of all, I didn't understand why God was allowing all of this to happen to me. There was so much that happened to me. So much more than I can just tell in these short little videos. And I just could not understand how God or my family could do what they have done to such a small child. I became full of hate and rage, extreme anger, just a slight wrong look, and I was blowing up like a bomb. My family and my friends began to think that I was crazy, and they all started to scatter, leave me alone. But I was struggling. I knew something was wrong. I knew something way inside. I just acted this way. All the years of abuse had took a great toll on me. I started becoming goth. I started dabbling in witchcraft. Started studying the Satanic Bible. God wasn't helping me. My family wasn't helping me. I needed something to help me. I was so desperate, and I took the wrong path in life, just looking for a way out of all the troubles and strife that I have been in. I was destroying everyone. I was destroying myself, my family. I was destroying my spirit. I had all this inside of me, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I was just angry. I was angry at everybody. I was angry because no one would help me. I couldn't keep a relationship. I couldn't keep my marriage going, and I began to lose my children. I lost my children, and that's the hardest thing I think that I had to go through, was to see what I was doing to them and how they felt about me. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't take the chance of losing the ones that I loved. So I stepped out and I asked for help. In getting help, I was diagnosed with PTSD. That was such a relief. To finally understand and to know that what was wrong with me was real and there was a title. And then to learn what PTSD was and how it came about, and to know that it wasn't my fault, was so relieving for me. I can now make a change in life. I can make a change in my life and a change in my family's life. And all I had to do from here now was to look at life through a whole different lens, to see it for what it is and how I was reacting to it. And I had to take notice. The many times that I should have died, I wasn't alone. How did I make it? I had to see life through a different lens. I had spent my life walking for miles and miles, living out in the woods, surviving off of creek beds, anything nature, and anytime I went missing, anytime I was out there in the world, I was in nature and I was in the woods. I wanted to be one with the rest of the animals, because that's just how I felt, like an animal, a wild animal that had been hurt and in shock. I had spent my homeless years studying spirituality and psychology, hiding out in the libraries until people got off work where I could get a hot meal. I learned a lot of things. I analyzed people. I watched them closely. I had to in my situation. But I learned that I could see the spirit of people, and that taught me to not hate people for the things that they had done to me. I knew I wasn't alone in life. I had started having prophetic dreams at 5 years old. I dreamed of Jesus, and I dreamed of the ghost, the spirit in the house. We lived in a house that was old and haunted by a very evil man. He haunted all of us. He took a devastating part in my life, and I was very afraid of him. Also, at the age of 5, my puppy had been killed by traffic. Several cars had hit him at once. He was gone, and I held him in my arms all night out in the barn, crying like a baby. When I woke up the next morning, the dog was gone, and I thought that I was going to be in trouble for staying out all night. As I walked toward the house, my little puppy Snoopy come running from around the side, alive and well. As I got older, I gave myself to God. I had thought about my life over and over, and I could finally see all the many times that God was with me, that He did not leave me alone. I could see each time that the angels had reached down and helped me up, how they steered me and guided me away from even more harm than what I was already in. So I just turned it over to God, and the healing began. I attended theology college and biblical college in my early 20s, and I became a prayer warrior. And I spent the next few years as a mission out to help other people through prayer and healing through God's grace. It was a very magical moment for me, and the first person that I was able to help was my mother, fighting cancer. In 2005, I was ordained as an evangelist. God had become my everything, and I had a ministry that stretched across Pakistan, India, and Africa, well over 14,000 people. I gave all that I had to what I was doing. And God started revealing even more and more to me. Jesus began to speak to me through visions, dreams, and whispers. He started teaching me. He started showing me the spiritual life and what it meant to be in the spirit and in the flesh. And He taught me about my 7 spiritual gifts. And now, in my 40s, I completely understand my divine purpose. And that divine purpose is to help you who are suffering and going through things, to help you understand it, see life through a different lens, adapt and overcome, make the best of it. Because it's not happening to you just for fun and games. God allows these things to happen to you because you have a great purpose in life. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave those in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to talk about a subject or something that I have brought up in these videos, you're very welcome to do so. I will get back with you as soon as possible. If you want to share your story, it'd be great too. So, hope you enjoyed this video, and I really do hope that it's a journey to really make some big changes in our life.